Ryback against Goldust and Stardust. Goldust and Stardust get the win. Match was pretty dead. Nobody really cared. All I could think of is, you've got Dusty Rhodes' two kids out there doing the weird, wacky deal. One's dressed up as Goldust, one's dressed up as Stardust. Just get Dusty out there. Bring him out there as Dusty Dust. And just be done with it already. Put some makeup on the splotch. The splotch could have some personality of its own. Somebody actually responded to me on Twitter. They said, no, he's not Dusty Dust. He's got to be Old Dust. And I thought that was great. So you have Goldust, Old Dust, and Stardust. They could be a trio. If the Shield were still together, they could probably have some pretty incredible matches. But they're not. So maybe they can go up against the Wyatt family or something. But I posed this question on Twitter, and I pose it again here for those of you who didn't see it. I'm watching this match, and again, Goldust is great. He's 43, 44 years old, moving around like he's half his age. He's still going, he's still in there doing his thing, and he hasn't gotten hurt, thank God. And Goldust has been very impressive since he's come back. And I'm watching this guy, and I'm thinking, would you consider Goldust to be the most successful, enduring gimmick ever created by Vince McMahon behind Kane and The Undertaker? I would think Kane and The Undertaker first, then Kane, would have to take precedent over that for as long as they've been around. And not just as long as they've been around, but they've been prominently featured as main eventers. Kane is 47. He's not that much younger than The Undertaker, who can barely move these days. He wrestles once a year. He may be done. Kane is out there every single week on all the TV shows. He's at house shows, pay-per-views, everything. He's still going. Now, maybe he's not having great matches, but, Kane, if you look at the durability that he's had over the years, it's incredible. So take those two and put them aside. Would Goldust be the most successful, enduring gimmick that Vince has ever created? I would think he would be. Vince has created a lot of different gimmick characters over the years. Some have gotten over, a lot of them haven't. But Goldust first came around in 1995. So that's when he made his debut, was 95. And there are people who have asked me, well, didn't Dustin come up with the character himself? I was always of the impression it was a Vince idea. Maybe Dustin had input into it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he talked about it in his book. I didn't read Dustin's book, so I don't know. I've always been of the impression the actual genesis of the Goldust character came from the mind of Vince McMahon. So let's assume that it was a Vince creation, or Vince put his own spin on it. 1995 is when the character debuted. Now, Goldust has come and gone. He hasn't been in the company for, 18 straight years. But he had a number of years that he was there, and then he left, and then he came back again, then he left, then he came back again. He's come back and left about 3 or 4 times. But every time he comes back, he does get over with that character. There's something about that character that the people do get into. And this most recent run of his maybe has been the best. Unless you count that original run with the character as it was back then. Because the Goldust character has evolved. The Goldust character used to be very controversial for its time. The announcers now, when John Cena comes out, oh, he's the most controversial superstar in WWE, and I want to gag. I want to stick a sock down my throat, because he's not controversial. There is nothing. There is not a damn thing controversial about John Cena. The correct word is polarizing. He is a polarizing figure. That's different than controversial, and it drives me fucking nuts every time Michael Cole says that on commentary. Goldust, back in 95, 96, was a controversial character. He was far more controversial than John Cena ever has been. And now the Goldust character isn't controversial at all. So it's a different day than it was back then. But for as much success as he has had coming back to the company all those times, and he's held a bunch of tag team titles and intercontinental titles, never made it as a main event performer. He was never a world champion or anything like that. But I would have to put him way up there, probably at number 3. As far as all-time gimmicks that Vince has created that are still going today. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I just was kind of bored during the match, and I thought about that, and I said, he may be. He may be number 3.